apart from the actual studio scenes. The pre-recorded house scenes were played into the studio scenes for Perkington to simply react to. Now, as I said before, the viewers were given a phone number to ring to share their ghost stories. Now, like I said, if anyone did ring this number, they would get an automated message explaining that it was all fake. But there was a problem with this. You see, the calls received that night were far too great, and the phone lines just got jammed. And many people ringing in just simply did not hear this recording. Originally planned to be a 6-part miniseries, it was later retold in this 19-minute feature. Initially, the BBC were concerned that it may be too much to broadcast, and they actually nearly pulled it from the schedule. But obviously they decided to go ahead with it on the one condition that they add, right at the beginning of the documentary, written by and directed by, which would have told everyone who was watching it that this was fake. But of course, what if you didn't tune in right at the beginning? What if you tuned in a minute into it and you missed that part? So you had no idea that this was a drama. The next day after the show had aired, the BBC was slammed in the press for its mockumentary, claiming it was very irresponsible of the network to broadcast such a thing with so many disturbing scenes. The presenter Sarah Green, you remember the one I told you about, who was dragged into the cupboard under the stairs by the poltergeist? She was actually accused of advertising the show on a children's live TV show that she presented. This, however, was proven a hoax, and this never happened. But she did go on to the children's news show to reassure all young viewers that Ghostwatch was fake and there was nothing to worry about, and she was, in fact, alive and well and hadn't been murdered by the ghost under the stairs. The show did have some serious psychological effects on some people who watched it. Some children who, in my opinion, should not have been watching it in the first place, and that probably includes myself. I probably shouldn't have been watching it as well. Some children suffered anxiety attacks and post-traumatic stress. 3 women actually went into labour because of this programme, and it is believed that some people soiled themselves. Now, I know, as silly as all this sounds, there was actually a real life tragedy connected to this TV show. You see, 5 days after the show aired on TV, 18-year-old factory worker Martin Denham, who had learning difficulties, actually took his own life. And his mother and father have always said that it was down to this TV show. This TV show was the reason that he killed himself. Apparently, Martin watched the show that night and he took it 100% serious, believing every part of it, even though his parents tried to convince him otherwise. Apparently, the house where he lived with his parents had a troublesome central heating system, causing the pipes to expand and make all the same noises that could be heard coming from the haunted house on Ghostwatch that night. Apparently, Martin became obsessed with the show, almost hypnotised. Martin had become so obsessed with the idea that his house was indeed haunted as well. And on the night of the show, he became very afraid and insisted that his bedroom lights should be left on when he went to bed. The noisy pipes in the house were scaring him to death. Days later, sadly, Martin took his own life, and he left a heartbreaking suicide note. It read, "If there are ghosts, I will be with you always as a ghost." Martin's mother and father always blamed the BBC and still do to this day. Years later to this day, Ghostwatch has become somewhat of a cult film. Even though the BBC never showed it again, people seem to remember it, and for some reason it is still a fan favourite at Halloween. And now it is easy to get hold of. It's on DVD and it's on the streaming services like I mentioned earlier, so now other parts of the world can enjoy it if you like to be scared. And there is no denying that this short horror film, which essentially is what it is, was very, very well done. And in my opinion, even though it is dated slightly, I think it probably rivals some of the found footage movies we get these days like Paranormal Activity. I think it is just as good. And I think the reason it fooled so many people was due to the attention to detail. The red herrings here and there making us think it was a hoax, and then throwing us back into it, playing with our thoughts. And then we have the physical manifestations of the ghost, Mr. Pipes, who was seen for only a few seconds here and there during the programme. Like I said before, blinking you'll miss it, but this all added to the creepiness of the film. And I've always said a good horror film never reveals too much. They always hint at things, but they never show you too much, or they show you a split second of something. Take, for instance, I don't know if you've seen it, the one that always comes to my mind is American Werewolf in London. I absolutely love that film. You very rarely see the werewolf, but it scares you to death. And then you have the sequel where they added the CGI werewolves into it, and you could see them all the time. They were always on the screen, and it just was nowhere near as good as that first movie, because in the first movie they only shown you split seconds of the werewolf here and there. It simply didn't have a lot of screen time, but this went in the film's favour. The same goes for Jaws as well. You never see the shark in the first film. You hardly see it, you only see it now and again. And it's the element of the unknown, not knowing where the bad thing is, which makes it all the more scary. And that's what they did with Ghostwatch, and it worked. It totally worked. And it was making people all over the UK doubt if they saw what they thought they saw. So all these clever movie making tricks actually fooled a nation in 1992 on Halloween. So what do you think? Was this a genius piece of horror material that made for an enjoyable spooky Halloween night? Or was it an irresponsible, dangerous game played by the BBC who should have known better? As always, I'll let you decide. And there you have it, the 1992 broadcast of Ghostwatch. And a massive thank you to Spooky Podcast for giving me the idea to cover this subject today. Thanks very much, guys. Okay, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I've got a few plans in my mind for the podcast, where I would like to take it from now on, and I just want to share it with you guys. Recently, I've been thinking about doing more merchandise. I have got a store. I've never really spent a lot of time on it, but recently I've been getting some brand new t-shirt designs, mug designs, sticker designs, and I will be getting even more in the future to bring a whole new range of choice for you. Also, I'm thinking of expanding the podcast into a YouTube channel as well. This is early stages. I'm still thinking about how to do it and how to get my head around it. I want it to look professional. I don't want to just stick a camera up and record myself recording the episode. I don't think that's any fun. I want to do something a little bit different, something separate from the podcast, but something that would always lead back to the podcast. And to be honest with you, I don't even know what it is yet I plan to do. If you're not following me on Instagram, that is the place to be. That is where I hang out most of the time, on Instagram. That is where I talk to the fans of the podcast. I've noticed over the last couple of months that the popularity of the podcast has started to grow quite a lot, and people are actually reaching out to me now. So if that sounds like something you would enjoy and you want to come and follow me on Instagram, please do so. Just search for Bizarre Podcast, and when you click that follow button and I accept you into the group, say hi. I love it when you say hi. And another thing I love is to hear your suggestions. This podcast is for you, the listener. I want to hear what you want from Bizarre Podcast. I want to give you what you want. So suggestions are always, always welcome. Oh, and another thing I've been thinking of doing on Instagram recently is running a lot of competitions and giveaways. So if you're not on Instagram, you're going to miss out on the opportunity of winning some great prizes. And you know, it's just a great place to keep updated on whatever I'm doing involving Bizarre Podcast. I really want to push the podcast now. I really want to take it to the next step. I really want to know what you guys think. And also, if you like what I do, if you enjoyed listening to Bizarre Podcasts, if you could just take a few minutes out of your day and head over to iTunes and leave me a stunning review, I would really, really be grateful. I believe you can leave some reviews on certain Android apps as well. So if your Android app gives you the opportunity to leave a review for me, please do so. I would be so grateful to you. So if you made it this far into the episode, I want to thank you very much for sticking around and letting me bore you a little bit. I'll say goodbye now. Take care, take it easy, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.